Tribe in MMA. What's up, folks? Justin Garcia here, aka Master Chim, and I'm here with the White Tribe, the single white tribe. It's like single white female, single white tribe.
Nice.
Patrick Kelly. That's a good Irish man. A good Irish lad.
Yeah. What's up? Eringo bra.
Blah. And welcome to another episode of The Pressure Project. ThePressureProject.com is our website. Info@thepressureproject.com is our contact email. ThePressureProjectMembers.com is our membership site. Check it out. Good stuff there. Behind the scenes, archived footage.
Yeah.
The Loyalty Matrix Decoded series. Bunch of other good ones.
Yeah. The forum's awesome.
Yeah, so check that out. So today we're going to talk about, and I mean, realistically, this is on the heels of Conor McGregor's victory last night.
Yeah, last
in the
night.
UFC.
Correct.
I mean, it happened Saturday night. It's being released Monday, so this is obviously Sunday. All right. So
Spoilers.
So normally we don't date.
Yeah, usually we
the
don't.
Perspective, but it's like a 2-day swing. People are gonna know. So Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
He won the UFC
He's Irish
featherweight.
The featherweight interim
title. He won the belt.
Yeah.
And he's a special case.
He's pretty good.
He's a polarizing figure, a very charismatic, electric personality, and he's driven up interest in the UFC at a height that not many people can remember, especially for the lower weights.
Yeah, especially for the lower weights.
You'd have the guys that were very, very popular in MMA, in the genre itself,
Only.
in the niche, right?
Yeah.
But Conor McGregor, I mean, what was the Sinead? Oh, it was Sinead O'Connor. What'd she say?
Well, she said Dana White asked her, "Have you ever heard of the UFC?" She's like, "No, but I've heard of Conor McGregor."
Right.
So okay,
he's broken down a bunch of barriers.
Yeah.
In Ireland, and I've never been to Ireland. I will go to Ireland. A lot
Me
of
too.
Cool stuff I want to see there.
I should go. They say
I do have Irish blood. So
Patrick Kelly, I'm Irish.
You're a little bit,
something, a little something. Yeah, Irish Jew. No, I'm not. I'm Irish. I just wanted to say.
Well,
that.
so defensive. I'm not.
But
Conor McGregor is somebody who has definitely captured the audience of mixed martial arts, and one of the things I wanted to connect him to is his training regimen, his training scenario, his environment, and how it pertains to MMA. I myself have been involved in MMA over a decade at this point. I've had, I don't know how many I've never counted how many fighters I've put in a ring or a cage.
There was that one year, it was like 25.
Yeah. I'm probably 30, 40 fighters at this point.
I would say that's good. That's a good figure.
And one of the things that we do here, which is atypical, is I only train homegrown fighters. So I don't have fighters that come from other camps.
That is correct.
To join, my camp and prepare them. And there are plenty of people that do that right. The majority of people do it wrong, in my opinion.
You've sent people away.
I send people away all the time. All the time. Oh, yeah, I saw you guys, in the last card, wanted to come train with you. Well, where do you train now? I train with these people. So, you're contacting me? Well, no, I figured, yeah, I'm good. Thanks.
Yeah.
We cross-train with people all the time. But,
allies.
Allies.
Yeah.
Exactly right. So, with Conor McGregor, I like saying his name. Conor McGregor. He trains with Straight Blast Gym in Ireland. And Straight Blast Gym is a family, a tribe of different schools, different individuals that own different schools, and it was started some time ago, probably over 15 years at this point, by a gentleman named Matt Thornton.
Yeah.
Now Matt Thornton's a friend of mine. He a very bright dude, very opinionated, and very strong-minded, and those are the types of guys that I like having for friends.
Yeah.
Right. No Nancy asses But he's I think he's tall.
Yeah,
He's like
he's a big dude.
9'15"
He's
or
like
something.
yeah, something like that.
Give or take. He's a tall dude.
He's an ice giant.
He's an ice giant. Holy crap. I have a picture of him and Adam Singer with me
Yeah.
at an event
Oh,
I was
yeah,
speaking
yeah.
at a couple of years ago. And it literally looks like a shot out of the Lord of the Rings.
It does. It really does.
Like it's Frodo standing next to Gandalf.
Yeah.
You know,
It's intense.
who would Adam be?
I guess he would be Gimli.
Would he be in that scenario?
Yeah.
No, but he was much taller than me too.
Gimli's
he'd be
tall.
an orc. No, he'd be an orc.
It could be an orc. But I mean, if you're going with Lord of the Rings, Gandalf is big. Gimli is a little bit shorter, and then the hobbits are like much, much shorter.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Can't make him an orc.
No.
All right.
You can make him an orc, but why would he be taking a picture if he's an orc?
All right. True.
They actually used Matt Thornton in the Game of Thrones, the last episode, when that big dude that was throwing all the zombies around, just crushing people.
That was Matt Thornton.
Yeah, that was Matt Thornton. He was killing all the zombies.
All right, cool. So he started this a long time ago, and little trivia fact: his school academy, his family, his tribe, Straight Blast Gym, was the inspiration for the name of my school, which is the Jungle Gym. And one of the reasons for that was that I wanted people to be informal in so much as I didn't want the formality of traditional martial arts schools.
Like the bowing.
Right, the bowing, the you can't sort of hold anybody to task because of rank.
Okay.
And, like I didn't want anybody sort of slithering through the ranks in my academies to become, a person of influence without earning it.
Yeah, I understand.
And I wanted to maintain that realistic sort of vibe in the school.
Yeah. And
that seemed to be, and I hadn't known Matt back then, but that seemed to be, what his mindset was and what he established. And I started the Jungle Gym with that in mind.
Yeah.
So I knew it was my school was going to be called something Gym.
Yeah.
And one day, my wife and I were because we were Bronx Brazilian Jiu Jitsu before that.
Yeah.
And I think another school has that now, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, we were better than them.
Yeah. Still are.
Yeah, much.
But
I digest.
Yeah.
So she and I were driving to our school on 204th Street in the Bronx, and I'm having this conversation with her, and we're actually talking about Straight Blast Gym, and I want it to be a gym, and if I could just think of something gym, and I look over, we're passing the Bronx Zoo, and they have a jungle exhibit, and it just connected. It was like, bam, Jungle Gym.
Yeah,
and it made sense.
It does.
My nickname was Chim. It was a monkey, and everything just worked. So that's how the name Jungle Gym was born.
And then, ironically enough, JG.
The JG worked. Justin Garcia.
Yeah,
it did. That
was not on purpose.
Yeah, it just worked. Sometimes these things just figure themselves out.
Listen,
right?
It all worked out. It's pretty good.
Right. So with Connor, I don't know if he started from the beginning in Straight Blast Gym, but I know he's been with his coach John Kavanaugh, who's a Straight Blast black belt. He's been with John Kavanaugh like forever.
Yeah.
He may have been with John Kavanaugh before, and I don't know. I'm just speculating. Maybe even before John Kavanaugh hooked up with Matt Thornton.
It's possible.
So the story is Matt Thornton was, I think, cornering Forrest Griffith and Rory Singer, who we've had on the podcast before, in an event in South Africa, and John Kavanaugh was fighting.
Oh, cool!
And he met Matt, if I'm remembering this correctly, because Rory told me this story. He met John in South Africa. They became good friends. And I guess, it just was a natural evolution into him joining the Straight Blast tribe and training. And they're a very, very impressive group, with Straight Blast. It reminds me a lot of SIOC, because with SIOC that, we're members of, it's a tribe that transcends locality. It's really an identity that requires ritual, as any identity does. And the ritual isn't limited by, where you live, what you do necessarily, or what level you are, A couple times a year, we get together in SOC, and that's what empowers the tribe. And with Straight Blast, you see the same thing.
They do.
They have a couple of camps. We're good friends with a bunch of people from Straight Blast, and they're good people and they're tribal minded people. They get it.
They do.
And with Conor McGregor, here you have somebody who, if you look, I think he has 2 losses.
He has 2 losses, correct.
And when you look at the losses, I'll be honest, it's like, man, does this guy even know how to fight? Because they were so just basic.
The arm triangle one especially.
Yeah, just basic taken down.
I never saw the knee bar one. The other one was a knee bar. I didn't see it though.
And just basic stuff. So, but to go from that guy to grow into the monster he is now, because he's a freaking monster now.
Yeah.
And to grow into that, all with the same camp, with the same group of people.
Yeah. Wait, so when he lost the first time, he didn't just abandon his coach?
For some reason, he said, you know what, I'm just going to stick with these guys.
That's interesting. And then when he lost the second time, same thing, right? He didn't just jump ship?
He made the same mistake twice, I guess.
Oh, man. That mistake led him to the UFC title.
Last night winning a title. So
it's a pretty good mistake to make.
It's So it's it's curious because it's so atypical. And
it is.
And I call the people that do the opposite team jumpers.
Team jumpers.
In Brazil, they used to have this Crionchi.
Crionchi.
Now, the Crionchis, apparently, my wife explained this to me.
Yeah, would you explain to me?
Right. It was that was like a character.
Yeah.
Like a traitorous character in a popular Brazilian soap opera.
I see.
Novella.
Yeah.
And the guy betrayed his family or friends, whatever the hell.
His name was Crionchi. That's his name.
His name was Crionchi, and that's why they referred to him as Crionchi.
Yeah.
So in Brazil, when a guy would leave a gym and go to another gym, that's the label they would give him. And people, it's worth noting that there are people who I consider team jumpers that I don't criticize negatively.
Understood.
And there's a distinction to be made there, and that's what I wanted to discuss today. So the guys that, like back in the day in Brazil, schools, academies were very localized. So you'd have, just like a local gang or a local football team or local. I remember growing up in the Bronx, we had like a 3 or 4 block crew that, amongst other things, we would play football. Cool. And we would play other blocks in football.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And that was like a thing. One of the only productive things that these groups would do. But that's what we would do. So back in the day in Brazil, it's my understanding that these schools were very localized. And it's like one of those, almost like high schools,
I see, yeah.
And
that's an interesting way to put it.
Why would you leave, one school to go to another?
True.
When all your friends were in this school,
they all live by you.
Right. They all live by you.
Yeah, there's a lot of different dynamics going on there.
Right. So that is something that I understood. It's something that I could even agree with to a certain extent. Barring extenuating circumstances, I really don't know how to say that word, so I say it really quickly.
Extenuating.
Extenuating?
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Extenuating?
Extenuating.
I put all sorts of R's in that word.
Extenuating circumstances.
I keep it real.
Listen, it's fine.
I'll be perfect in my next life. So in those situations, the teacher's abusing the student. The student just doesn't get along with any of the students.
Yeah.
His teammates. He's rejected or ostracized. I know that word.
Yeah, that's cool.
But barring those few exceptional scenarios, why most people leave, are selfish reasons.
I wanted to learn the new moves.
Right. I want to learn new moves.
Yeah.
It's a whole slew of things. Some which I agree with, the bulk of which I do not.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about four aspects of this topic today. Right. And this is inspired by the Conor McGregor victory, and his having given credit after his victory to his team in Straight Blast. I remember watching, or I don't know if I was reading an article on the people who were with him in Vegas to prepare.
Yeah,
and all the guys, all his Irish, teammates. I think his girlfriend was there, his masseuse, and But one of the teammates had a huge straight blast tattoo on his ribs. So these guys are loyal.
Yeah.
They're flying the flag.
They're flying the flag. Yeah, they're in tribe.
Inspired by them, we have these 4 things. So first and foremost, sport-minded people see only one mission, theirs.
Yeah, correct.
So if I am a competitive sport jiu-jitsu player, I am in the era now where these people can make some money. These people can make a living. No, they do.
Yeah,
they make money.
Metamoris, like there's a lot of
sponsors.
And
it's
sponsors,
always sponsors.
Yeah.
It's always advertising. It's always ad money. And there is the industry has grown to the point where I have this itch on my neck. And I could barely reach it. So I'm like almost dislocating my shoulder. So you have these guys who are making money, who are really making career moves.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, you think about like basketball teams, right? The whole LeBron James fiasco of a couple of years ago when he was leaving Cleveland to go to Miami, and then he left Miami to go back to Cleveland. And I enjoy it. I don't enjoy it for the sport aspect of it, but the dynamics amongst people and the way the society is reacting to this nonsense. But, the value that you can get out of it is you see the disparity in what people are trying to get out of this.
Yeah.
And what is actually there. The money is so big now. The money is so significant now that you can almost not even expect people to have any sense of loyalty to a city or to a team or to teammates. It's business.
Yeah. And you've seen that time and time again.
Right. And it's something that
even homegrown, like Yankee stuff, like homegrown people just
and
bigger paycheck. See you.
And I would blame the fans for expecting it to be any other way.
It's money.
And when the fans have created this, they've supported it every step of the way. Now it's at the point where you have these professional athletes who see this as a business, and when you're questioning their financial motives, you're the idiot.
Yeah, pretty much.
You're the idiot, and that's what you see with some of these guys in sport jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
in MMA. It's now starting to get to that point also.
It is, yeah.
Now, the difference between MMA and sport jiu-jitsu, as I see it, MMA at the top has a lot more money than sport jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, of course.
The thing is, though, that MMA is one of these sports that people will watch without necessarily participating in.
That is also correct, yeah. Where sport jiu-jitsu, especially the way it is now, it's a tough pill to swallow unless you know what's going on.
Right, so you're going to finish all my points? Because I had just finished 1 of 2 points, and you just kidnapped the second half of it.
Awesome.
So I agree with what you're saying.
That's great.
But it has nothing to do with what I was going to say.
What were you going to say?
So the distinction, funny you should ask. The distinction between the two that I was going to make.
Yeah.
I need a mute button for your mic. So you could just be like, I'll do a ventriloquism and they'll think you're saying it.
That's good.
So I'll kill you. So the distinction is that in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the money is generated by the people who participate in it.
I see.
So every, Jiu-Jitsu sport Jiu-Jitsu nut nowadays has 5 different gis.
Yeah.
The Shoyoroll brand of gis.
Yeah.
Going for thousands of dollars on eBay.
Crazy.
And the guy, Bear, Vince, who started Shoyoroll, great dude. And, I've met him on a couple of occasions, and he's a guy that, like, when you see all the success he's having, you're ecstatic for him because he's such a good dude.
That's awesome.
But the reason a guy like him is able to be so successful is because of the fanatical nature of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu participants.
Yeah, it's true.
With MMA, it's slightly different in that, you could be a fan of watching MMA without necessarily being educated.
True.
So there are a lot less participants in MMA than Jiu-Jitsu, but the bulk of the MMA money comes by way of the fan experience, the observer experience. So with MMA and Jiu-Jitsu, the money is generated differently.
That makes sense, yeah.
sport jiu-jitsu is now getting to the point where you are having elite money available to certain participants. And by elite, it's the type of money that'll make one wealthy. There are no $1 million a year, competitors in sport jiu-jitsu. But, I know of guys who are getting, 40 grand a month, to wear a certain gi. And not even to mention all the sort of the ancillary, applications of their fame, in terms of schools or the opportunity to earn more money because of their significance in the niche. But all that being said, if you are a sport-minded individual, you could expect the participants to be as loyal as you expect an NBA player to be.
Yeah.
To a baseball player to be.
Baseball.
If they're doing this to win a sport, to generate money, then the money changes everything. So,
of course,
if you're able to watch a sport jiu-jitsu match, and obviously some are better than others, but if you're a fan of sport jiu-jitsu and you could watch a high-level match and be satisfied, then that is what sport jiu-jitsu is. There was a time where sport jiu-jitsu was just the way that these prideful, super tight, tribal-minded academies were able to, have bragging rights.
Yeah,
and
true. Yeah.
When you look at the late 90s, the mid to late 90s, the Mundials down in Brazil, the matches that would go on, these just incredible matches, you would, you'd see the crowds going absolutely insane. But it was one team. It was like a Texas high school football game. That's the vibe that you would get. Whereas in sport jiu-jitsu, you will see certainly the teammates of the individuals competing, supporting what they're doing. But you'll see a lot of people cheering people on because they're fans of the individuals.
Yeah.
Right. So I remember here in New York City, there was a guy, Gianni Grippo.
Yeah.
And Gianni Grippo came up through the Renzo Gracie Academy, and incredibly talented grappler. I think he was there from when he was a kid or an early teenager, and was basically raised on the mats. At the same time I started, but at a much younger age.
Yeah, I remember him.
And he's good. He still is good. And at brown belt, he left and he joined Marcelo Garcia's school.
Yeah.
Marcelo Garcia, if you follow sport jiu-jitsu, it doesn't get any better than him.
I heard he's decent.
Arguably the greatest jiu-jitsu competitor ever. And
it's pretty good.
But different team.
Yeah, different team.
Tribe.
Yeah, completely different.
So you could see, because there was a backlash when this happened, because people looking at it two different ways. Obviously, everybody in Renzo's had a tribal connection to Gianni.
Yeah, of course.
But Gianni had a sport connection to Renzo's.
Whose fault is that?
Right. And to me, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Yeah.
That's Manhattan shit, right? We're up here in the Bronx. You call that Manhattan shit.
That's city troubles.
But it is one of the sort of problems that you'll constantly see in sport jiu-jitsu now.
Yeah.
Because of these two different mindsets.
Yeah.
Well, in MMA, it exists probably at a much higher level, but at a much higher level, popularity-wise,
Correct.
To the average fan of MMA, it's much more obvious, but with fewer people, because the people that affect the MMA world with this issue are much fewer. They're much more elite level MMA fighters.
Yeah.
So with Conor McGregor, when you have somebody that starts from the bottom, and now, he won a belt last night, all with the same team, it's very unusual. On occasion, you'll see that, I think Jose Aldo was with Pederneiras with Novo Nhau his whole career. You'll see this with a couple of guys here and there.
Yeah.
But by and large, I think the average, elite MMA fighter, and I would consider those the guys that compete UFC, Bellator.
Yeah.
What other promotions? There's the one. What's the one fighting?
Oh yeah.
In Asia.
Yep.
They're pretty good.
Yeah.
So
One
good,
fighting championships.
So
Yeah.
good, I don't remember their name.
And you know your favorite, Invicta.
Invicta.
It's your favorite.
So amongst them, you see people swapping teams or training camps all the time.
All the time, yeah.
In boxing, you look at boxing and, he used this trainer for this fight, this trainer for that fight. I remember all those pre-fight camp shows, like reality shows they had for BJ Penn. It's like this fight he's training with this guy, this fight he's training with this guy, this fight he's training with this guy. And to me, it's
$1 Million Baby.
Yeah, to me, it's where, what do you actually think you're gaining by doing this?
I don't know.
Obviously after a loss, people are always trying to sort of solve problems, patch holes, close seams.
Blaming your camp.
But blaming your camp is
that's
probably not doing the thing you need to do.
It's the weakest excuse you can make. It wasn't my fault. It was my camp's fault. It's my coach's fault.
Right. So sport-minded individuals, they tend to see only one mission,
Correct.
Their mission.
Yeah.
Right. So that's number one.
That makes sense.
Number two, street-minded individuals tend to be more tribe-oriented.
Yeah.
So by street-minded, I mean people who have no sportive aspirations, but people who see their training in MMA as preparation for reality.
Yeah.
Figuratively and literally. Whether it be a mindset training that they get from MMA or a literal, tactical preparation for altercations they may have in the street.
Which usually are not one-on-one.
Right. So with the street-minded, we'll call them street-minded people, they tend to be more tribal-oriented because they understand the need for a group, because what they're basing their identity on, where this is concerned, is survival.
Yeah,
really,
100%.
So with survival, it just makes sense that, having a group is something conducive to that notion.
Yeah.
And, them believing in the tribe a little bit more than the sport-minded people makes sense. Sport-minded people don't see this in terms of survival. They see this in terms of, I need to win. I need to know the new moves. I need to have the better preparation because I want to win the tournaments.
Yeah.
And you'll see big teams, sport jiu-jitsu teams, they'll, have camps where people from different schools will come to there. And I hate it all.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, I hate it all.
Yeah, me too.
I could see somebody who is, I think like Marcelo Garcia, for example, if I'm not mistaken, he started with one individual, but then got to the point where he needed more competition and eventually moved to I don't know if he was from Sao Paulo or a suburb or offshoot or outside of Sao Paulo, and eventually joined Alliance with Fabio Gugel and Alliance. And he, maybe that is the type of case that I would understand, where somebody just outgrows the competitive level of his home gym. But the majority of times, that's not what you see. In MMA, I've had plenty of people who have come up through the ranks, and it's almost a catch-22, because when I was more competitive, when I was competing myself, and even training more regularly, because I don't train anywhere near as I used to. I was right. No, well, in MMA, the thing was, I was always able to whoop their asses.
Okay, yeah.
So it was much easier to have the conversation about why they should stay here when they have somebody who could still whoop their ass. But what happens now when you have the guy who is the dominant guy, and he doesn't have anybody that can whoop his ass? What do you tell him that are the reasons for him needing to stay there? Well, two things. I'll say, number one, if the coach legitimately thinks that this guy has outgrown the training environment of the school, you got to send him on his way. If he is a competitive MMA fighter.
True.
We have, it's funny, about maybe 5-6 years ago, we had a nucleus of fighters here at the Jungle Gym that were all really heavy.
Yeah.
So we had like 70s, 170-pound fighters
Yep.
up to heavyweights.
Correct. Mostly
And-
that was the
Right.
makeup. Yeah.
That was, the bigger guys were on the mat. Now I have the fucking lollipop guild. Now I have 35ers, or 25ers, 35ers, 45ers. I don't even think I have a 55er.
That's active? I don't
That's
think so.
active and
No,
competitive,
I
right?
can't think of one.
So I have a whole slew of lighter weight guys. So if I had a guy who was, a prospect at 85,
Yeah.
I don't have the environment, for him to get the same experience that a guy at 45 that I would get.
Yeah.
Right. So it's important, that a coach acknowledges that. If I had a guy 70 or 85, maybe I allow him to use, or I bring in people for him to spar with.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
if he comes to me and says, look, I want to train with guys that are my size every day, it's going to be hard for me to debate him on that.
That makes sense.
But so what I'm speaking about most critically are those situations where a guy, let's say I had one of my 45ers that loses a fight. We just had Leo recently lose.
Yeah.
And, if I had a guy that loses a fight and says, well, I need to go, find a different training camp. I need to go. Well, to me, what that says is you're looking at everything but yourself as a priority.
You're blaming.
You're basically saying if, it's everybody else's fault and, it's certainly not me. I did everything I was supposed to.
Different training camp. Of course I'm going to win.
Right.
Because it's like a magic potion I'm going to take.
Right. So, and many a talented fighter fall victim to this.
They do. They do.
I know, let's say, name a couple. What was it? Mike Pyle. He strikes me as somebody who was
Lieben. Didn't Lieben do that?
Lieben, Travis Brown.
Yeah.
A lot of
John Jones.
A lot of popular guys, they're team jumpers.
Yeah.
And they have varying degrees of success. And a lot of times, like you look at a guy like John Jones, and before he ran into his latest trouble, you could say, well, this, so what? He jumped teams, the greatest MMA fighter on the planet. But, what does a tribe give you that a sport competition doesn't? It gives you accountability.
Yeah.
It gives you a brotherhood of people who have a vested interest in you being good as a man, not necessarily worrying about as a priority your wins and losses in a cage.
Yeah.
Who's to say that if John Jones isn't with his original team, that they don't have some sort of an intervention, or maybe his environment in and of itself holds him more accountable his entire way up the ladder. So neither here nor there at this point, but something to observe.
They're also all about taking.
Right.
The ones that jump.
So here's and that leads us to number 3.
Yeah.
We have a list here.
Yeah.
So maybe don't.
That was me doing a segue.
There was no way that was a segue. Anyway,
It worked.
that it did because I'm here to clean it up.
Segue.
So number 3.
Number 3.
All champions require the sacrifices of others. So when you are going from somebody who is just starting out and growing and evolving as a fighter to the point where you are now a championship level fighter, there is no way you're doing that by yourself.
No.
You could be the guy that is in the gym from the crack of dawn, last guy to lock up at night, put all the time in, but you are not going to reach a championship level fighter unless you have other people sacrifice for you.
That is correct.
Okay. So just being there and just training with people is one thing. But when you have guys who are now cutting time out of their family lives, leaving work early, getting to work late, taking time off, not doing anything else, and using all that time to show up for you, well, now you have a tribe. Now you have people who are actually allowing your success to motivate them in terms of sacrifice. And all champions require the sacrifices of others.
Correct.
So it only makes sense that putting yourself in a situation, a group of people, where people are willing to sacrifice for you,
Yeah,
it only makes sense that that's the way to go.
of course.
So you'll have the opposite of that is either have a lot of bodies there,
Yep.
and you'll also have the people who have a big enough budget that they'll just be able to pay training partners.
Yeah, sure.
It's a different experience.
Completely different.
I think of Cain Velasquez and Daniel Cormier, and how when you hear them talking about training, how those two have created the outlier
They have.
effect.
Yeah.
Where they're super skilled, super competitive, super talented fighters who get to train with each other every single day. And they're different enough in their abilities or in their games, the skill sets, that they could push growth, within each other's abilities. You'll find that a lot. Me, with my sons now.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome.
We just had one of our intramural in-house tournaments.
Yes, the Pressure Quest.
The Pressure Quest.
Awesome.
We just had it yesterday, and all of our kids competed.
Yeah.
And my second son, Kaizen, it's the first time he competed.
Yeah, he did
And,
good.
There's a great picture of him with his eyes closed.
Yeah.
Where he's like trying to tackle somebody.
Yeah.
And but he's now at the point where he's going to be able to drill effectively with his older brother.
And then they're going to start.
So as soon as that happens, there's the fire.
Yeah.
It's like you have the kindling, you're trying to grow it. As soon as you create that situation where there is a self-contained, rep factory or rep machine, that's the outlier scenario. Now they're getting reps that the average person just isn't getting.
No, definitely not.
So getting back to the kid, Gianni Grippo, and I say kid, he's probably in his 20s now.
I think so.
He's a black belt and good. He's still good. He
wins tournaments.
Yeah, coming up in Henzo's, I'm sure he got the attention of such a high level elite group of guys.
Of course,
because he wasn't somebody who was just one of many people. So it was it's really not a surprise that he got as good as he did, because he was in a situation where he got reps that his peers just weren't getting.
Correct.
So that was number 3. All champions require the sacrifices of others.
They do.
Number 4. Team jumpers will never receive a full commitment from teammates.
That is correct.
So what this means is, when you're a team jumper, the place you go to, people are going to see you as somebody who is in a sort of a journey, and they're the latest stop. So one of the things that I say here all the time, and I say it out in the open because I want it to be a part of a conversation with the students that I have,
of course,
is that if you are training somewhere before here, chances are just a matter of time before you're training someplace else.
Yeah, with few exceptions.
Very few exceptions.
Yeah. Usually relocating people.
Right.
Like when,
and I don't count that here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I don't say, somebody who moves, I mean, come on.
Someone who went from the place up the street.
Right.
Unless barring any sort of catastrophe, generally they're going to.
So the thing is, I take very seriously people's loyalties. And when I have somebody who leaves a school and wants to train here, it's important to me to know why.
It is. It's extremely important.
Oh, because you guys are better. It's like, all right.
Okay.
Because the response is, well, you know what? If everybody left here before we were good, we would never be as good as we are now.
That's 100% true.
So here you are to sort of reap what other people have sown.
Yeah. Let's jump on the backs of the people who worked hard to get it here.
And because that's the case, any strong team is going to see that outsider as an outsider.
True. 100%. Yeah.
And it's not somebody who was necessarily found himself in a new life situation where they wind up training with a new school.
Yeah.
But I use the term team jumpers because that represents a mindset.
It does.
Of these people that, they're one move away from being the champ.
for getting
you
all
know?
for collecting all 10.
Right.
They're one move away. They got 9 moves. They got to need that 10th one.
Right. And I remember a student we had that doesn't train here any longer, who trained at a place before me, and wanted to train here because wanted to learn my style of fighting.
Yeah, because it was a good style.
And it was, his pitch was all nonsense.
Sure,
I was better than his instructor.
Yeah,
my fighters were better than the fighters he was training with, so he wanted to train here.
Yeah,
so whatever. I knew it was just a matter of time before he left. But he was training here for a while.
Yeah,
and just disappeared one day, and you see him on social media. He's in another room with another group of people, doing the same process all over again. Of
course.
And, decent enough guy, but, worth half of nothing to me, in a real sense.
Transient.
Yeah. And the irony is this particular guy who's always hugging me when he sees me at events.
Yeah, I know you're talking
has
about.
never competed.
Yeah, I know exactly.
He's never fought.
He fits the hooker model.
Right.
He's one of the hookers they bring in to be
Right.
cannon fodder for the good guys.
Right.
So he'll be the prostitute that moves around the camps, and that's him. He fits that model.
And it's a way to be, I guess, but it's not a way to be where anybody truly commits to you.
Yeah.
Because you're a hooker.
Yeah.
Let's use that.
Because you're a prostitute.
You don't fall in love with a stripper.
Don't kiss them on the mouth.
You don't kiss them on the mouth. So, that's what what you'll see with those guys is, I mean, if you have ability, if you're another body,
sure. Someone's going to use you.
It's tough. Some of my guys, last few weeks before a fight, when they're sparring next to 100%, we got dudes dropping like flies.
Yeah.
And you listen, some guys from some other schools want to come and headbutt a couple of kicks, like, better than my guys.
Yeah.
There's a mutual benefit, of course, but I see it as something that is positive, is productive.
Yeah.
But getting a text here.
Yep.
So with with the average person who leaves to become another body in another school, they're going to be looked at as an outsider.
Of course.
So much would have to be compensated for before they're looked at as a brother.
100%.
And
that's a big leap, and it's going to take time.
Right. And a lot of people, don't realize that.
Yeah.
So pressure player and unicorn.
Yeah.
The pressure player I'm going to give today to Matt Thornton.
Matt Thornton, who is the founder and the head of Straight Blast Gym International. Yes.
That's what the lowercase I is.
Yes.
Right?
International.
They also have a gorilla.
They do have a gorilla.
For their logo.
Yeah.
Now, I will say that the gorilla of the Jungle Gym was not designed because of the gorilla of Straight Blast. That gorilla was actually designed by a graphic artist that I hired to create the logo.
Yeah.
And my nickname's Chim. And Chim's the monkey from Speed Racer.
It is.
Who is not a gorilla.
Not a gorilla at all.
So the guy who was designing the logo said, "You remind me much more of a silverback than a little monkey. Would you mind if I use a silverback or a gorilla?"
You were like, cool.
So I'm like, yeah. Hello, ego.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's how that happened. But, Straight Blast Gym also has a gorilla. So
there's a cartoon gorilla.
What do you mean?
No, I mean, like the way their gorilla is designed. It's more of an artist rendition of a gorilla.
Don't get all graphic.
Right,
nobody knows what the hell you're talking about right now.
I like their gorilla. Don't get me
As soon as
wrong.
you use rendition, like,
Yeah,
come on, fucking drawing of a damn.
Anyway.
Anywho,
yeah.
So Matt Thornton, like I said, he's 8 foot 13 inches tall.
Correct.
He is a great dude, smart dude, opinionated. He's a man's man. He's married to a native, I don't know, Icelandic.
Sure, that sounds great.
But like, I'm using it as an adjective.
Yeah.
Icelandic woman, but what I call her
Icelander.
See,
I don't know. I have no idea.
And I was like Icelandian, but that sounds
Icelander.
like
I like Icelander. That sounds cool.
Yeah,
North woman.
A North woman, Salome, and cool too. Little trivia. Salome, I was sending. She was helping me out with. Because she's from Iceland.
Yeah.
Translating like these old Norse like phrases that I was trying to, because I had a little side project I'm working on.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to maintain the authenticity of what I'm doing.
Which is awesome, yeah.
Which is awesome. So not only was she helping with the pronunciation, with like writing it out, like sounding it out phonetically, like through writing, but she was also doing like little audio clips.
Yeah.
So because some of it is just so goddamn difficult to say.
It is very,
you know, it's like it's written and you're like, what? You can't. Like, how do you make that sound?
It's tough.
You know, so she was helping out, and
that's awesome.
Yeah. So good people.
Yeah.
Strong group, tribal minded.
Yes.
And it's good to see them start to see the success they deserve.
100%. Yeah.
Not only them specifically, but also the mindset, right?
Yeah.
The format of sticking with the people who you love, who love you, who you know, who know you,
and seeing their success now,
right? And now they're finally
on a world stage,
right? They're starting to reap what they sow, and also very competitive, you know, sport jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
too.
they are. They're known.
So they're making it happen.
Awesome.
So pressure player Matt Thornton. Kudos to you, sir.
Yes.
We'll have him on eventually.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'll drag his giant ass on the podcast.
Yeah, I'll have to change the frame.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta, because he's out of his mind. But it should prove for a very enjoyable conversation. Although knowing him and me, we may not talk about martial arts at all.
Yeah, it's entirely possible.
It'll be cool, regardless. So, Unicorn. This fucking guy.
This guy, yeah.
Greg Jackson.
Greg Jackson.
This guy. Now, I've never met Greg Jackson. He's probably a great guy. He's probably a people person. Everybody loves him. He's all about the kids.
Yeah.
All that being said.
All about the kids.
All that being said, he is a guy who has time and time again just recruited. I don't want to say recruit because then he said, I didn't recruit anybody.
I didn't do anything. They came to me.
He opens his doors for fighters from other camps, oftentimes to the detriment of fighters that are already in his camp.
Yeah.
Right. So the first real scenario where this was an issue was GSP and Diego Sanchez. With Diego Sanchez, who had started with Greg Jackson from the beginning.
And it was known like he was a homegrown guy from there.
I remember I was in a tournament where a grappling tournament where I was the 190 division and he was in the 170 division. And I won. I was in the finals. I was going against a Brazilian guy from American Top Team. I lost by points. But he won. He beat Pablo Popovich in the finals.
Pretty good win.
Incredible match.
Yeah.
And Greg Jackson, I think, was there with him.
Okay, yeah.
So this was
was
before anybody even knew who Diego Sanchez was.
That was his dude.
I knew him as the crazy Mexican wrestler from New Mexico.
Yeah.
Super skilled, super tough. And he was with Greg Jackson. So to have one of his homegrown guys be basically put on the shelf because Greg Jackson had an opportunity to work with GSP.
Yeah.
It's
crazy.
like, what are you doing, man? You know, Greg Jackson is notorious for making fighters boring, for having fighters win safe decisions.
Go get some fans.
And,
hey, man, go get some fans.
And
that whole thing.
And well, this the thing, the way that I see it, you know, my perspective on it is, you know, when you have a guy like GSP, you know, as far as the notoriety of you know, that level of fighter, you don't want to lose him. So you're not going to have him take any chances. You're not going to have him do anything that you think is going to be, you know, high risk.
Yeah.
What winds up happening in the process, and I noticed this with Machida. Some MMA talk now.
Yeah.
But with Lyoto Machida, when he was undefeated, it got to a point, you see it with Mayweather, you know, in boxing, you got to the point where people just want to see you lose. Because the way you win is so, now they can't see.
Some people wanted him to lose.
Listen, brown belt.
Yeah,
brown belt.
Understood.
The black belts are talking now.
Okay.
Not Fedor, who's the greatest MMA fighter in history.
Understood.
Okay?
Yeah, not Fedor.
Let me make my point before you could agree with it.
Okay.
Or just say some other shit that it isn't. Anywho.
Yes.
Fucking kill you. Fucking hammer right here. Police, this will be the weapon right here. All right? I'm going to hide it, but this will be it. It's like fucking Easter egg hunt when you find a hole in his head. So,
yeah.
So with Machida, unlike Fedor, he had such a non-engaging style. It appeared to be such a safe way to fight for him.
Yeah.
He would win. He would knock people out on occasion.
You would, yeah.
But up until that knockout happened, it was a boring fight. Same thing with Mayweather in boxing.
Yeah.
So you get these guys where they get to the point where they're winning, but people are just watching them because they want to see them lose.
Yeah.
Well, with a style like Greg Jackson is notorious for having amongst his fighters, whether he's the one saying it or not, you have these guys that are just fighting to not lose, not fighting to win.
Yeah.
The opposite of that would be a guy like, obviously, Vanderlei Silva, who, win or lose, who the hell cares?
No one
Vanderlei
cares.
Silva's fighting.
Sometimes I don't remember
Right.
if he won or lost. I just know the fight was awesome.
Right. Sakuraba back in the day. So it's it makes sense that when you have somebody who you cherish, right, because of what they represent, like what a GSP would represent for Jackson's camp in the future, or John Jones, it makes sense why he would try to cling on to them, one, but secondly, try to make sure they fight to not lose. Got to get that win. So Diego Sanchez wound up leaving, going to, I think, San Diego and training with Salo Ribeiro, who's a jiu-jitsu guy, for a while. Wound up coming back. GSP was gone then. And Diego said it was because of GSP. Like, we're both in the 170 division UFC. Like, why? What's the big... And, of course, Greg Jackson, what's the big deal? It's not a problem. So...
Well, imagine you getting ready. You're 2 fights away from a title fight, let's say, or 1 fight away. And the person you're going to fight for the title, they bring it. He's now your teammate.
I remember Sapo, Rafael Natal, I think his name is. Sapo is his nickname. It was Frog. He just recently won a match in the UFC and against Uriah Hall.
Yeah.
Uriah Hall, notorious team jumper.
Yeah.
Started with Tiger Showman. And now is all over the place.
I have no idea where he is.
And Sapo gave an interview where he was saying that he had called to train with a Renzo Gracie affiliate, because Sapo's under Renzo Gracie's jiu-jitsu, and the person who owned the school, I don't know who that is, had contacted Sapo. Was like, look, do you mind if? And he was like, yeah, I mind. Like,
I mind.
He's not training. Like, no, it's not happening.
Yeah. It's my team, not his
and he
team.
said even Enzo was like, what's the big deal? And he was like, no. Like, there's no way. Like, he's in my division. I'm probably going to have to fight him. Like, no. Like, we're not helping him at all.
That makes sense.
It makes
Why would you?
sense. But a guy like Greg Jackson, you'd have to ask yourself, well, why would you not say no? If it wasn't that you were looking to improve your position and not necessarily the position of your fighters.
Yeah.
You look at a guy like John Kavanagh, who is the Straight Blast Ireland coach, and you see a guy who's like, he reminds me of one of my old coaches, my striking coach, Steve Katz.
Good guy.
Steve Katz, too good.
Yeah.
Too good of a
guy. Yeah.
I love Steve Katz.
Yeah.
Incredible coach. But he's one of these guys that gives everything up for his guys.
He does, yeah.
And he just has such a fucking bad run of dudes that he's working and trying to help with. But with like John Kavanagh, who's very similar to that, you see a guy who will do anything for his fighters.
Yeah.
And there, you could have any world champion try to join his gym, and John Kavanagh is not selling out one of his guys for the opportunity, to work with somebody who might have a little bit more notoriety to their names.
For the shiny new toy.
Right. Because I'll tell you right now, when you look at Conor McGregor's his losses, like who he was back in the day, you're not looking at that fight and going, hey, this guy's going to be a UFC champ in a few years.
Definitely not.
So what gets him from one place to the other? A guy who loves his brother, who's never going to leave him, who's going to work with him to the last day. With Greg Jackson, you had that Diego GSP situation, and then you had the probably more popular John Jones
Rashad Evans
situation.
Yep.
Where Rashad
What's
Evans
the big deal?
pretty much was saying everything that I'm saying now. It was
100%. Like, what the hell's going on?
What are you doing? Invited John Jones into the camp, was training with him, but then got to the point where they had to pick sides,
Yeah.
and Rashad Evans was out on his ass.
Yeah. It's like, wait, I was here first. What the hell's going on?
And not only was he there first, but he was one of the guys that put Greg Jackson's camp on the map.
On the map, yeah.
So, John Jones was like an All-American junior college wrestler.
Sure.
He was a stud before he ever walked into Greg Jackson's, camp. He was a guy who just got it. The guy is a fighting genius.
Yeah.
Has a group of attributes that are so elite and unorthodox for people to prepare for. He's just the perfect design of somebody that could take over a division for as long as he wants.
For as long as he wants, until he decides to do cocaine and crash his car.
And this is what a tribe is there to prevent.
Correct, which is why he fucks up.
Which is why you have a guy like John Jones, like hitting some pregnant lady's car in a rental car and then running.
I remember we were saying they showed Conor McGregor's like entourage coming into the building. Said if it was John Jones, it's him dropping cocaine bags out the window, he's crashing into people.
You see John Jones try and sprint past the security to get into the UFC.
But yeah,
but
well, it's like, let's say, so you have your son, just for a hypothetical, in high school wrestling, and they're on the team, this and that. New kid moves in, and he's on the team too. So you have him wrestle your son. The winner gets to live with you now. Your son has to go. It's like, oh, this kid's good. He's coming in. He's new.
I'm hardcore, but I'm not that hardcore.
It's like, he's better than my son's son. You got to go over there.
Right.
Like, I'm taking this kid in. Like, you can't do that.
Right. So what was the connection if it could be so easily replaced with somebody else?
Yeah.
So a guy like Greg Jackson, listen, he's seen a lot more success in the MMA world than I have.
At what price?
And this is the give and take of it. Whatever my potential was, or is as an MMA coach, the only way I'm going to do it is with my own guys.
Yeah.
Because I don't care. Like there's
You'd
no
rather
amount
not
of
do
money.
it.
Like I don't care who you are. I've had people call me. This is always fun when I get a guy who calls me or contacts the school, wants to do a seminar, either an MMA name or a jiu-jitsu name.
Yeah.
And they're like, look,
we get the emails all the time.
yeah, like we're gonna, we'll fill up your school. This is, we're willing to go to your school instead of these other schools. And I'm like, you done?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not interested. Thanks.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you know who this is? Yeah, I know. Yeah, I watch TV. Yeah. Like whatever. I don't give a shit. What do you have to do with my guys? Do you love my guys? You don't even know my guys. You don't love my. If you don't love my guys, I don't want you coaching my guys.
That's 100%.
So to me, it's so simple and easy.
Yeah.
Some people still simple, but just too difficult for them.
Too difficult.
Follow. So that is that. So Greg Jackson, unicorn,
terrible,
fucking up.
Yep.
All right, tribe and MMA.
Yeah.
Break it down, you crack ass cracker.
So this is one of the important things as far as running a tribe, as far as having a tribe. The students who start today, the students who are joining, I was like, oh, well, here's the end of my journey in the tribe. No, so the students that are starting today, right, they don't know anything. They don't know what's going on. The students who have been with the tribe for a long time, it's their role and their responsibility to give back to these brand new students, to have them be able to experience what they experienced. Training at other schools, going to another team's mat. It's like, where are you? Where are you in your home when the new guys need you? You're away, you're gone. Having a strong tribe, being able to give back, being able to sacrifice for the newer generation, to be out there training with people who are getting ready for fights. Maybe you're not getting ready for them, but it doesn't mean that you're not going to be on the mats helping. All of this stuff creates a strong tribe, creates a strong group of guys that end up pushing each other forward, getting better. And we don't need any outsiders to do that. We don't need the hot new prospect to come in who knows all the fancy moves. None of that stuff matters. I'd rather be training with my brothers every single day than the flash in the pan, shiny new toy that happens to be good. I wouldn't trade that for anything. And that's the key to having a strong tribe. So if you're out there and you're, running that model where it's just like whoever's the next best thing, you're jumping on the bandwagon, that has a shelf life. And pretty soon you're going to find out that you're going to be training all by yourself. You're going to have no one No tribe, no strength, and no power.
Agreed. So you have guys who already have a tribe. They come from a big family. They're very religious and they're active in their church. They're a police officer. They're a fireman. And they have these tribes that their lives have already meshed with. And then one day they come to train martial arts. It's understandable that these people are always going to be at the fringe of the core of the tribal identity of the group, because they have their own tribe.
Yeah.
They're supporters. They're in tribe, but they don't necessarily, they haven't taken on a role, of one of the roots of the tribe. And it's understandable. The issue I have is when somebody designs their school to only be a group of supporters. There are so many benefits that I've gotten out of, training martial arts. There was a time where I was a competitor. I had aspirations of being the best, professional MMA fighter I could be. But kids happened, wife happened, kids happened, and it's never been a road I've ever regretted. But whether I was competing, not competing, injured, healthy, whatever the case is, I always had a place to come and hang out with my brothers. Training could be fighting, training could be repping, training could be having a conversation on the mat.
Yeah. 100%.
If at the end of it you're better than you were when you showed up that day, then what is that if not training, preparation, improvement, evolution? All right. I believe that tribe is the only way we're ever going to achieve our goals. You cannot do it alone. So in MMA, if you don't have a tribe, and your school is not a tribe, and your team is not a tribe, but they're the ones who are filling the role of tribe in your life, then you are destined to fail. So either improve your group, start another group, or it's time to go. Because I will also say, along with this, that if you are charging a group with providing that tribal atmosphere that you are so eagerly willing to empower and embrace, and they're coming up short, you're wasting your time. And chances are the people you're leaving won't care when you do. Thanks for listening, folks. Great conversation. Again, congratulations to the SBG group. Conor McGregor,
yeah,
John Kavanaugh, and the rest of the crew. Incredible fight to watch. Incredible build-up to the fight.
Yeah, legit.
Talk about being the feeder.
Yeah, all the way.
McGregor's got it down.
And he was yelling right when he got in the cage, right? He's like, who's going to back up first? Let's see who's going to back up first. And he didn't.
Right, so we could start calling Muhammad Ali now the Black Conor McGregor. Right?
Sure. That works. Yeah.
ThePressureProject.com is our website. Info@ThePressureProject.com is our contact email. The Pressure Project members is our members site. If you're getting something out of these messages, guys, join the membership site. We have guys that are joining every single day, and the messages I get, and even, the guys that haven't joined about what this podcast has done for their lives. It's incredible to me to read some of these messages. So I read every single one of them. Don't think I don't. Might not always reply, but
yeah, read all of them.
Some of the lives that have been changed by this podcast have in turn helped me change my life. And that's the exchange that we're aiming to have here. So on the member site, we see that done at a more intense, intimate level. And we also, truth be told, we get money for it. That money we use to do more stuff. Because all I want to do is talk to you guys. You have no idea. All right?
Yeah.
So thank you for your support, guys. We look forward to speaking to you on the next episode. And as always, brothers, pressure to power.